شاكر شكر جزيل دكتور محمد والأستاذة آلاء طبعا على هذه الدعوة الكريمة. الكلمة هتكون باللغة الإنجليزية من باب الدمج أيضا والتغير ما بين الطرح، لكن هذه كلمة عن ورشة تدريبية مدتها يومين نقدمها في معهد التدريب للتعليم المتطور عندنا في الشركة. فطبعا حتى لا نكون ظالمين للمحتوى سنركز فقط على مفهوم الانضباط الإيجابي داخل مجال العمل وتمكين الموظفين في مكان العمل بالانضباط الإيجابي، وفيما يلي إن شاء الله ممكن أنا موجود خلال اليوم لبعض التفاصيل الأكثر عن الأدوات اللي تستخدم من قبل المدراء ومن قبل متخصصي الموارد البشرية في هذا المجال. So basically, what is the positive discipline and how to change the work environment in general. And of course, all of us are HR experts and L&D professionals and understand pretty much all about organizational change. But then again, the purpose would be to expose a little bit about the tools that are used within the positive discipline framework to transfer the theory into practice in the workspace and reinforce empowerment as much as possible in your work environment. And of course, the last point would be more of it's a workshop rather than it is a talk or a presentation, a one-sided talk or delivery. But basically, we were going to focus more on what is positive discipline, which might be new to some of our respected audience, and then delve into, of course, how to align it with change within the tools that will be presented very, very quickly. And as this is an interactive bit, so I would like on the piece of paper that you have and the pencil that you have in front of you to draw this table, challenges and qualities and skills. So basically here is basically where we are at the moment. So please think about 3 main challenges in your workspace and write them down in less than 30 seconds. Just basically 3 main challenges that you face on a daily basis or on a weekly basis, on a regular basis, let's say. Don't share them with anyone, just keep them there and we will revert back to it by the end of the session. All right, so what is positive discipline? Alfred Adler is an Austrian medical doctor and a psychotherapist. He is the founder of the School of Individual Psychology. Individual psychology is being used now in many learning organizations so that they cater for children and they cater for pre-university and university education, but it also has transferred to the workspace. Rudolf Droiker is one of his disciples and one of his followers as well. He is the one who introduced this to organizations in a more pragmatic, in a more practical way of delivery. So basically, we're gonna go through some of the main concepts of positive discipline. It really delves into the roots of behavior. We have been listening to the most important bits of behavior and how does behavior affect performance. Yes, we are all about performance, we're all about KPIs, we're all about the bottom line, but if you take good care of the top line, the bottom line will always follow. And of course, the top line is how humans interact in your organization. It also balances between logical consequences. If some mistake in behavior happens, and this is normal, we're all humans, mistakes happen, how do you treat a mistake or an issue in your surrounding space? As opposed to punitive measures, which also, of course, increase resentment in the workspace. There is one of the basic concepts is connection before correction. And this is a German Deutsch word. I don't speak German, but I think it's pronounced Gemeinschaftsgefühl. Gemeinschaftsgefühl is the concept of community. It's the concept of everyone is influenced by others as well as they influence others. So we have to focus on connection before correction whenever an issue happens in the workspace. And of course, again, prevention versus treatment. What are we doing as HR professionals, as L&D professionals in the workspace to prevent an issue from happening rather than waiting for an issue and then file whatever the procedures or the HR manual tells us to do. A bit about the constructive behavior and the coercive behavior. Of course, you have a title, you are a manager, you are a director in your company, so you have authority entitled with that title. So do you use this coercive power a lot, as opposed to using your connections and your constructive power and influence with your employees, with your team, whether they are your subordinates, colleagues, or your managers? Which this leads us to laddership versus leadership. And that's a very interesting concept. Laddership means authority. The boss, the employee, the manager, the managed, the teacher, the student, whoever is on top. But leadership is basically we are both at the same level, reaching one same target together, but just simply have different positions, have different job descriptions. Again, it delves into diving deeper into the cause or the belief behind the behavior. It is okay to validate a behavior in any institution, in any organization, in any situation, but we need to validate the feeling that led to that behavior. Because this behavior might be accepted or not according to the rules and regulations, but all feelings are accepted. And all feelings are coming from a need of belonging and significance. Every behavior, whether it's a positive one or a negative one, is based on I want to feel belonging to this space that I'm in, so I will do whatever I think best, which is a behavior now, to translate this feeling. And of course, you might mistake the goal on your way. And Alfred Adler's mistaken goal chart includes 4 different causes or interpretations and translation of the misbehavior in a workspace. Whether you are seeking undue attention, people are not noticing you enough, so you want attention, or misguided power. There is power struggle with you and your boss or with you and colleague. Everyone wants to be more powerful in the workspace. Or revenge. Something happened yesterday and I just want to revenge for it. No one saw what happened, but now they are seeing what I am doing as a reaction. Or assumed inadequacy. I'm newly hired, but I don't fit in. I don't feel that I am actually appropriate for this place. So whatever, I'm just there doing the minimum. So these 4 causes, of course, are some of the thoughts that are given as tools to HR professionals and L&D experts as well, so that they can use to analyze a misbehavior in the workspace. When we are expecting intellectual potential from all our employees in an organization, which means that we need them to perform at their top best to reach their highest potential, we assume that they have all these building blocks already in their life, in their personal life, and of course it impacts a lot. I was just speaking with my colleague here about the impact of social and personal life on the workspace. But do we have the basics as we grow up leading to where we are now in our moment of life? Or we don't, or are we missing? Is there any block in these blocks that are missing? Sorry. And positive discipline actually encourages the workspace to provide professional development to enhance those skills, to hone into those skills, and whether they are relationships, socializing, concentration, identity formation, leading to their highest top KPIs, as we mentioned. Of course, they are key performance indicators, but we also need to a little bit look at them as keep people informed, keep people inspired, keep people integrated as well. There are 5 criteria of a positive discipline. Basically, it's a balance between kind and firm. Of course, we have all in mind the boss should be always firm. If you are a kind boss, you are a weak boss or a manager. So this is the balance between respectful and encouraging. Creating a sense of belonging and significance, as we mentioned. Anything in our rules and regulations, whether it is to encourage and empower an employee or to discipline an employee, needs to be creating this sense of belonging and significance to the place. It's not just with a lanyard that I will put on every day in the morning, having the name of the company that I work on will create this sense of belonging and significance. It's in the relationships. And it's effective long term. So it creates this retention that we all seek from our employees. We all suffer from, or many of us suffer from, high turnover for a reason or the other. So we need to ask ourselves as well as employees, especially people in power higher in the organizational chart, what are we doing to create a long-term commitment for our employees? And does it teach social and life skills? We assume that people will come at the same level to the organization of social skills and life skills. No, they are different. And every mistake at work is an opportunity to learn and to hone in and enhance our skills. And last but not least, it gives an opportunity for our employees to feel capable. Our colleague was just mentioning about inclusion and special needs in the workspace, that they need to feel capable, they need to feel empowered so that they can have a voice and choice in the organization. This is basically kind and firm. We have x-axis and y-axis between kindness and firmness. So if it's less kindness and high firmness, you are more of an authoritarian. There are no freedom in the workspace. But if you have very, very high kindness and less firmness, you are actually permissive. Everything is okay in the workspace. You don't want to be either there nor here. If there is nothing, no kindness, no firmness, that's actually neglect. You are not evaluating and not observing what's happening. But we want to be there in terms of freedom and order, which they call the democratic approach. But of course, it basically means that everyone is seen, everyone is respected, and everyone has a voice and choice. Some practical examples of the way you can actually phrase being only firm are these examples in front of us. Same situations, but very, very kind. No firmness at all. Same situations, combining both kind and firm. So you show understanding, you validate the feeling, but you also do not focus on the issue and the problem, you focus on the solution of what happened. So that you are moving forward and you're always teaching your organization, directly and indirectly, that we should be part of the solution and not part of the problem. I want everyone please to hold your right or left hand up like this in the air. And this is a very effective tool to recognize how our brain works as human beings. So first, while this palm is like that, the stem here is where all the emotions are. This is where all the emotions happen. The unintentional acts, maybe even inside the brain as well. If I put the thumb like that, and I fold, please do it with me, I fold my fingers like that, this is exactly how the brain is. This here, my front, is the prefrontal cortex, which is in charge of, thank you can put your hands down, which is in charge of making decisions, making informed, reasonable decisions that need to put thought process, creativity, innovation, and whatnot. So basically, what David Siegel is saying here is you need to have your brain always like that, settled to be able to think progressively and reasonably. What happens when you give the way and the space for reactions to happen? You flip your brain. This is called a flip lid. When you flip your lid, when you're angry, when you are frustrated, when you're tired, you're not actually in a good situation to reason and make decisions. So if you are able to analyze our behavior internally first, before analyzing others, whether we have a flipped brain, that's how they call it, or actually a folded brain so that we can think progressively, this is something that needs to be considered moving forward. Because what happens is, if I come with a flip lid and another colleague comes with another flip lid and we start interacting together, what happens? Escalation. But if I'm able to recognize what happens to me, to my body, do my hands shake? Do I start sweating if I'm angry? Do my face turn red? What happens to me? So that gives me an indication that I'm having a flip lid now. So I need what they call a positive timeout, or just time to relax and get back to the situation. Then I'll be able to control my reactions. And because you know that we have mirror neurons, we mimic each other. When you find someone happy, you are sometimes maybe happy. When you find someone smiling, you will smile back, and so on and so forth. So basically, these are many tools that we will focus on, but I'm of course aware of the time. I'm almost there. In terms of, you know the saying, if the only tool that you have is a hammer, then every problem is a nail. So you have to increase your toolbox and have more tools under your belt, as they say, so that you are able to deal with different problems, different situations, and different people. Cultural change, of course, we're all experts on that. So I wouldn't be speaking about all these frameworks of change, whether it's the DVFR or Noster's model in terms of all the equation, what you want to have to actually reinforce change in your organization, or McKinsey's 7 S's framework. All of this change models, and of course, the infamous Kotter's 8 steps for change, starting from creating urgency up to stickiness. It all comes down to the human factor. It all comes down. That's why meetings like this, conferences like this are really important, because we are speaking about human resources. So let's not neglect the fact that we are speaking about humans all the time. Yes, we want KPIs, yes, we want innovation, yes, we want adoption, but of course it always gets messy while it is adopted. So how are you going to deal with these different reactions from different human beings if you don't understand how the brain works? You have to believe it, of course, to be able to achieve it. So basically, I'll very, very quickly now touch base in the next few moments, a couple of moments that we have, on some of the tools that you might use. First of all, of course, clarifying your why, which is pretty much linked to the vision bit. Every one of us has a why, and as Simon Sinek puts in his book, Begin with Why, it's really, really more important than everything else. How you do the work will come next. What actually you are doing will also come next. But if each and every one of us, and we instill the sense of a strong why in all our employees, they will have an incentive every day to come to work. Bigger, hopefully, than just having their salary by the end of the month. So again, if the why is strong, the how is easy. Many other tools, of course, and I'll go through them very, very quickly in terms of there is an activity that's called Boss from Heaven. So you expect to see what are the expectations that you see in your boss. And if you are the boss, then you need to implement them yourself, of course. A competent giant is also one of the activities that shows you how employees feel if you are actually only implying firmness in the workspace and no kindness whatsoever. Curiosity questions is a very interesting tool. I'm going to follow up here in terms of some examples of how it feels to be told to do something. Just read these sentences as if they are addressed to you. And how it feels if you're actually asked to do the same thing, but rather in a curiosity question approach rather than tell me and I'll do it approach. Listening beyond words, of course, barriers to listening. Some people just listen to reply, and we actually do not listen to understand. And that's one of the 7 habits of highly effective people by Stephen Covey. The 4 R's of a mistake. What do I do if I make a mistake? I once was working, I used to work in school operations, so I was an assistant principal 4 or 5 years ago. And there was a situation where I was the person who did a mistake. And I sent a formal email apologizing to the teacher, who was one of my subordinates, and I copied the other teachers that were in this situation. The following day, one of the teachers came to me, he was like, "Why did you apologize? This affects your authority." So this is the mindset that we have. If you apologize, then I'm not powerful anymore. And this is really, truly, and I believe he was influenced by Robert Greene's book about the 48 rules of power. but we had another discussion about that. So basically the 4 R's are recognize the issue, the mistake, responsibility, coming up to speed and actually acknowledging that you are responsible on that mistake, reconciliation, and resolving the issue. Again, as we mentioned before, being part of the solution rather than being part of the problem. From the tools as well and the activities, there is praise versus encouragement. If we approach an employee and praise them like, I am proud of you, for example, or awesome, or great job, just generic statements, this leaves them with an inclination towards, I want to please my boss. That's what praise does, as opposed to what encouragement does, in terms of you deserve it, you earned it, you did that, and of course this goes to credit. In many of the workspaces we find people seeking credit all the time. If they do not feel encouraged and seen by their managers, of course that would be the behavior that will happen. Again, this might go to undue attention in the 4 mistaken goals. And there are multiple examples of comparisons between what praise and encouragement does in terms of the I messages that I was referring to. I like the way you did that, or I appreciate your cooperation. So basically you focus on the action that happened from the employee rather than the reflection of that action on yourself. Of course, again, this is a workshop, and it's a 2 days workshop. So part of this workshop as well would be to recognize your own character in terms of the shape. So all of us are either a square, a rectangle, or a triangle, or a circle, or a squiggle. And if we had enough time, we would have done that together now. But of course, I'm happy to share the slides with everyone afterwards. There are other skills as well in terms of team agreements. If you are new to a team, you have to understand the team agreements, team meetings, and how to have effective agendas of team meetings as well. And there are 8 steps of having these effective meetings according to the positive discipline and individual psychology as well. It's all the same school of thought. The mistaken goal chart, we have aligned to this before. And basically, this is a tool that helps you analyze these mistaken goals. So if it's undue attention, how does it make you feel, this behavior? How do you tend to react, as opposed to what is the coded message that the person who did that behavior is telling you, and what are the empowerment suggested responses? So that's for the undue attention, this is for the misguided power, this is for the revenge, and that's for assumed inadequacy, which are basically the main 4 reasons Alfred Adler's revert back all misbehavior to. At the end of the session, I would like you to go back to the table that you have started and align 3 main goals and targets and quality skills that you think need to be embedded in your workspace to solve these challenges. And this is the literature of positive discipline. So basically, of course, it started from home, parenting, school, wide approach, and overall administration and workspace. Thank you.